I am super excited to be making this video. I've been putting out my prayer letters for a while now, but there's just so much that happens on a month-to-month basis that I don't want to forget all that happens. And so I want to make this video really for me to be able to look back on in the future, but I also know that there are people like myself. When I was in the States, I would have loved to see testimonies like this of all that's happening on the field. And so I'm kind of doing it for the person that's like me back in the States that wishes they had a little bit more information as to like what's going on the field. We started this month with coming out of a trip to Argentina, and that was a great trip. We got to meet up with a couple missionaries that are there. There's a missionary, his name is Patrick, and then some people that we were put into contact with, Lauren and Robbie Prater. They are actually going to be missionaries here in Paraguay. They are currently helping out Patrick and his church, but they want to be missionaries. They're going to be missionaries here in Paraguay in the middle of next year, Lord willing. And leaving that trip, we were already exhausted. We actually found out while we were in Argentina that Lauren's grandfather was probably not going to make it too much longer. Basically, immediately we went ahead and said, well, I want Lauren to at least be able to get there for the family, to see him if she can for the last time. And so when we got back, within just a couple more days, she was already leaving again. She ended up having a good time getting to visit with family. It's funny, when you're on the field, you don't really realize the things that you miss. Like when we were coming here, I never would have thought the things that we would have been missing out on. Like, you don't think about chili powder when you're packing for Paraguay. And so she got to go back and kind of get some of those things to bring them back with us. But when she got back, she was probably gone for about a week or so. But in the middle of all of that, there was still work to be done. We still had soul winning here. And actually, it was the first week that she was gone that I started trying to do a soul winning class at the church here. And to this point, we have not had anybody else join us. We are praying about that. Right now, the first week it was just me. And then after that, it's been Lauren and I. That's kind of a work in progress. I think a lot of the people here, they're not used to sharing their faith, but we're praying about that. We're preaching on it and talking to people about coming out and getting that. And so we're praying, Lord willing, in the next video, we'll have a couple testimonies from other people that have started coming out with us. We have Spanish classes 3 days a week in the capital, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's been going strong, and it feels like that's actually super helpful. I remember there was a point when I was on deputation when I didn't think that there was a Spanish school here in Asuncion because it's so remote, and I didn't know anybody that would speak English. And so I kind of just said, hey, look, I'm going to go to the mission field and I'll learn it on the field just by talking with the people with what little I know. What was cool was later in like May, I found out that there is a Spanish school in Asuncion. But my assumption was correct. The reason why I didn't think there was a Spanish school is because I was like, there's no English speakers here. But she doesn't speak English. So we're learning Spanish through like a very natural, like not really hearing it in English much. We're just having to learn it by applying things. She says something, we take it, and she explains. She's really good at explaining things with her hands. That's been cool. That's been going strong. We still have that 3 times a week. We are in search right now for the Lord's will for our lives. And obviously many of you guys know that, right? That's the reason why we're in Paraguay to begin with. We just know that the Lord wants us somewhere in the Spanish-speaking world. We just don't know where. Over the last 3 months since we got here, I've spoken with, I guess now 6 or 7 missionaries that are here, many from Mexico, a couple national pastors as well. And I asked them all about this one neighborhood, this barrio called Nazareth. And so this little neighborhood it's central to a lot of the things that take place. But around this, not only is it near to the center of the main capital, the center of town of the capital, but it's also extremely close to a bus station. And the bus station hauls tens of thousands of people every day from far out, as far as we are, even further, all the way to the capital. And so the opportunity that's there is to not only just reach Asuncion with the gospel, but potentially you could actually from this one location reach people all the way up where we are and everywhere in between or even further. So to me, that's kind of the idea behind this area and trying to explore it a little bit more to see, is this something that the Lord would want us to do? Is this something that the Lord would want us to pursue? So we've looked at a couple properties, not to guarantee we're buying anything. Obviously, we don't have the funds for that. We're waiting to see, is this an area where there is an open door? And so, the Lord can open those doors, he can shut those doors. But right now we're kind of just pursuing that, not pursuing a purchase, but pursuing the knowledge of what is there. And so that's kind of where we are with that. So that's something that we ask you to please be praying for. So to talk about the soul winning efforts that we've had that have taken place over near the church, they were building a house. And so we got to stop and talk with them for, I think actually that was the week that Lauren was gone, but I got to stop and talk with them, a couple people there, 2 of them got saved. We've had a couple other pretty decent conversations, but in terms of the people close to the church, we have one couple in particular that's really close to my heart because I feel like they can really do something for the Lord. Their names are Soledad and David. And so Soledad and David are a young couple. They have 2 kids. But what really struck me was when I was giving them the gospel, they were with me the whole way. And actually, at first, it was just the husband. It was just David. And as we were talking, he was understanding the difference in the mindset of the gospel. I went ahead and after he got saved, I said, well, hey, look, I noticed, you have your wife back there. If she doesn't have the faith that you now have, where is she going to go? And, to hell. I was like, could I talk with her and share with her the same news? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. He goes and gets her. He's like, do you want to come in? Yeah. And so he allows us to come back and we talk for a while and she ends up getting saved as well. But we're praying right now that they would come to church because, obviously they live very close to the church. They can walk there, but it's kind of hard to get people out of the habit of not being in church. As you guys know in the States too, it's the same thing, right? So that's we're praying about that. We're praying about that situation. But one thing that I've noticed about the soul winning here, it's not that different from the States, but it just happens more frequently. There's a lot of people who will yes you through to the end. And I had one guy, in fact, I would ask him questions and I was talking with him about the gospel and I asked him towards the end of the conversation, as I go through the whole gospel and then we get to the end. But before we prayed, I asked him a couple questions. I said, now look, what do you have to do to get saved? You have to believe. Yes, absolutely. You have to believe. And then is there anything you could do to lose your salvation? Well, no, because it's eternal. I've noticed that the people here say they're following in their head, but they're not following in their heart. And so after he prayed, I asked him, is there anything that we could pray for you for, your family or anything like that? And he said, I'm afraid. I was like, okay, well, what are you afraid of? He's like, I'm afraid of going to hell. And it struck me. He was praying a prayer, but I could tell even as I was questioning and as I was praying, I was like, I don't know, but he's giving me the right answers, but I don't know if he's getting it. And so I started implementing a couple questions toward the end of my gospel presentation that I'll share with you just in case this is something that might be useful to you. One thing that I've been asking them at the end of their conversation, I actually did this with Soledad and David. What's the difference between what you believe now and what you believed before this conversation? No, it's the same. I've had people tell me that. And it's like, well, no, it's not. And so I could try to talk with them, but really they have to see it in their own heart. But then the second question that I ask them after that is, if you were to have died before this conversation, right? When you were believing that it was faith and works, or faith and the saints, or faith and Mary, or whoever, whatever they say, right? Where would you have gone? And their answer to that tells me if they really understand what the gospel is, that it is saving them from hell. It's not just, oh yeah, I'm saved. It's salvation from hell. But I think that from the people here, they need to hear it a couple times. What we're going to be doing here shortly is people that we talk with, and I've been here for 3 months, but I've just noticed this problem. I'm going to start doing follow-up visits with people who we've tried to give the gospel to, and it didn't work. And you might be saying, you should have already been doing that. I know, I should have. But I realize now the real importance of it. And so we are definitely going to be doing that here very shortly. The last thing was, this is super cool, just the connections that we can make here on the mission field. we met a missionary. His name is Alfredo Jimenez. We were talking a little bit because he spoke a little bit of English, which is very rare down here. So when I find someone who speaks English, I'm interested, like, okay, how do you know English? And so he's a national missionary. He's from Paraguay, born, raised, everything. He started his church from another church, from an American missionary that came here. He's a church plant out of that. It was super cool when we were talking. He said, yeah, I had to learn English when I went back to the United States. I think he said 9 or 10 years ago. I was like, oh man, that's cool. Well, that's cool. Where did you go? He's like, well, I was a missionary with Help Ministries. I'm like, very familiar with them. So I said, where in the States did you go? He's like, well, I went all the way from New York to North Carolina. I'm like, oh man, well, my church was in North Carolina. Do you by chance know Northview Baptist Church? Obviously this is all in Spanish, right? Do you know Northview Baptist Church? He's like, oh yeah, they're one of my churches that support me. I was like, dude, no way. I was like, that's super cool. But I thought that was just like the coolest connection, the coolest runaround, that like, we're here in Paraguay, and before we came here, we didn't know any other missionaries. We only knew the one that we were coming to help, and that was it. When we get here, we've seen person after person who are serving the Lord, soul winning, with good church. And I could even share a video of the church. I mean, it was a Wednesday night and it was loud. I mean, you're talking, there was a lot of people there, and the music, they had instruments up there. I mean, it was church. And so I was very impressed with them. And then he invited me to come back and preach that Sunday for their Sunday school hour. And I preached for the Sunday school hour. I'll end on this note. I've recently been listening to this song, and I might put the link to it down in the description. It's called Across the Miles. The idea of the song is, across the miles, I can feel the prayer. And the verses kind of start out with, I've had hard times, I've gone through a lot, it's been tough. But through it all, across the miles, I feel your prayers that you've been sending our way, that you've been lifting our name up to our Father. I want to come on here and just say, I do feel that. I do feel that way very much. And I'm grateful for all the prayers, all the support, all the help that you guys have been to us. I mean, it might seem like he's going to do fine either way, but I could tell you this, if it were up to me, I would not be doing what we've been able to do. And so I'm glad that I have God on my side, and that I have people back in the States who are thinking about me and praying for me. That is much appreciated. And so I don't want to leave this video without just acknowledging all the people who have been praying, who have been helping us, who have been supporting us. It has been a huge blessing. I look forward to making another one of these next month. I know we have an amazing month ahead of us, and Lord willing, there's gonna be a lot of souls saved, a lot of people, new people in the church, I want to have some baptisms. That would be a huge thing. So if you guys would please pray for us, I would greatly appreciate it. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in, and God bless.